This time on Captain Chaos's Laboratory, we're doing a Mr. Christmas Gold Label Collection World's Fair Carriage Race. So, this one, they don't know exactly what doesn't work on it because bad. So I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to turn this on to DC right there. Center is hot and outer is not, and we have no voltage because the transformer inside this died. So they're not sure if this works at all because they don't have any more power supplies. This is 6 volts DC. So before I started, once I pulled out of its box, went and found a 6 volt DC transformer. It's a little bit larger, but 6 volts DC, 120 N of course, so there's no end on it, as you can kind of see there. So let's plug this one in. Now this one's also polarized, where the other one is not, which means that it's got a fatter pin and a thinner pin, which means you can't plug it in upside down. So it's plugged in. Alright, and we got 8.9 volts basically, which would be correct for an unloaded power supply. Unless it's a regulated power supply, it will put you at a higher voltage than what it's rated for. That's because they're designed to run at 6 volts under a load. So, no load. But anyhow, when I took this one out of my drawer O stuff, because I have probably about 100 or 2 different power supplies that I save in case I have to replace one for somebody or one of my own things, I noticed something. I don't know if you noticed it when I hooked up the 2 connections. Unless you're doing stuff like this, you probably didn't. The unshielded wire or the uninsulated wire was hot. That is not normal. Normally the uninsulated wire is negative. So that is kind of strange. It's really rare when it comes to certain power supplies. They usually want the center hot to be insulated. In this case, they have the negative insulated. It's very important that you test these before you just stick them on, because yeah, it might be backwards. So, one thing I don't like about this supply is the entire, both negative and positive, has this white fiber in between the strands, and that is really annoying. I hate when they do that. So this must be an older power supply because they really don't do that too much anymore. They'll put it between the wires that are insulated but not actually blend them into the strands of the copper. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm putting on a piece of heat shrink onto the exposed hot. That is for me soldering it to this, because I'm going to make a connector for it. I've done it before in other videos, but we're going to do this whole video the same way. And so I already slid on the back of the barrel, and I'm going to slide on a piece of external heat shrink. What that's going to do is it's going to shrink these together inside here. I need to turn on my soldering iron. So we're going to find out together if this works. Now there's more than just 2 horses. There's another 2 in the box. I figured I didn't want to take all of them out. So there's a magnet on this cart or carriage part. There's a magnet right here. There's a magnet right here. So we are going to just do 2 instead of all 4, because it does take 4, or has 4. So this is solder, flux for the solder, sorry. On these, if you haven't seen this in any of my previous videos, the short pin is hot, which is the center on this, or it could be reversed if you have a reverse polarity one. The outer pin is the outer casing, which in this case will be ground. Get a piece of solder. And I am going to do the hot first, because the hot being at the bottom, I might have to cut the negative, which the hole is much higher up on that bar. Now these have a little eye hole in them, or a little hole, like an eyelid. I'm going to feed the wire through, and then twist it back. Like that. So that means it's kind of like threading a needle, what I'm doing. And if you have a set, a pair of helping hands will help hold this for you. If not, you can do it without them. I'm just going to do it with it so I can make sure that it doesn't move too much on me. Now, a small issue, which is the heat shrink shrunk, which I thought might be a problem, but it only shrunk at the tip. So I'll use these. Basically, I'm going to score the heat shrink where it's still fat. Actually, use a razor knife so I can slide it over the shrunk piece and the wire. Let's see, I scored enough. No. You can also use liquid electrical tape if you don't want this to happen. This happens occasionally. Normally the hot wire is insulated, so the insulation helps prevent it from shrinking. There, it's all the way through. Now can I slide it down? That's my next question. There we go. So. Now where I scored it, I just shrunk it down so I could slide the fatter heat shrink end over. That's what I used a lighter for. Let's see if I can get it to feed. There we go. Now see, if I couldn't get it to feed, I would just use a liquid electrical tape. Do need to trim a little bit off the bottom. Basically, when it soldered, it made a solder ball on one side where it took all the strands of non-wire, that stupid fiber they mix, and it's all melted together, sticking out. It's really annoying. Said I've never been a fan of the wires where they do that. I understand they do it for strength, but come on. It's wire. And there we go. So now the metal is insulated from the ground. That's the whole point of doing it that way. Now the negative hole is halfway up the bar, so I'm looking where it is so I can see where I need to trim. All right. Even and this thing has this stupid fiber in here. It is what it is. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing. But I'm going to feed it from the inside towards the outside. Like so, and fold it over. And then I'm going to fold it up. This actually has a flag or 2 fingers on it that allow you to crimp the wire to the actual casing. I'll try and show that here in a second. The first one to do is solder it on. So we're good. Good. So you can see it's got these little tabs, and these tabs are so you can fold it over. And on some wire strippers, you can use the tip, which is a pair of pliers, or some of them are in the handle, and then you can actually just fold the fingers over. And what that does is it keeps the wire out of the way and helps with strain relief. So if somebody yanks on it, that crimp keeps the wire good. Just make sure it's nice and flat. So next, we take this other heat shrink, and then we are going to heat shrink the whole thing. Now, what I've done before, some of you may have seen it in a previous video, but if not, I'm going to take a piece of heat shrink. I'm going to cut off a 1/2 inch piece, and I'm going to split it up the middle. So now it's going to be like the letter C. And what I do is I add it as a second layer of insulation on the inside, like that. So when I slide this big piece over and it squeezes them together, it doesn't allow the crimp, any sharp edges from it, to puncture the inner wire. I started doing that when I came across an OEM one that was the cause, and I'm like, ooh, they had this style connector on it. When I say OEM, I'm not talking a Lemax or Department 56. I'm talking just an outdoor, like Christmas thing. It was like a blow-up reindeer or something. Anyway, they used this style thread on, and when it got squished together, when I cut this open to find the short, where they folded the 2 fingers over, the metal was sticking up like this, and it punctured and created an arc in the head. Ever since then, I've started putting an extra layer between them, just to help. I don't want it to go bad after I give it to somebody. So, alright, so you don't have to. That's just something I started doing, and it's just because I came across a freak time where that happened. It was a fluke, basically. So make sure this works. Plug it in. .8 volts. So there we go. So nothing works. That's always a great sign. We have a staple stuck in the speaker. That ain't good. I'm thinking the power port might be broke. It's really loose. We don't have any lights, sound, motion, and this is sloppy, and I don't know if it's making a good connection. Oh no, that power port's broke. Got some magnifiers on to look inside. The last Mr. Christmas I did had the same thing. It was a broken power port. Alright, so let's get ready to take this thing apart. These are kind of interesting. They got big metal spikes that fit in here because it's got lights on the side. So that's kind of cool. Now let's just make sure that wasn't a short. Nope. Okay. Oh. Nope. Still nothing. Alrighty. This one has a lot of screws. There is a wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 screws. So let me get this started and I'll be back in just a moment with it fully disassembled. We'll see what's going on inside. Alright, there's all the screws, and let's lift this thing off. Or try to. So I got some wires holding me in the back. I got a connection here on the side. Another connection on the side. Alright, so these stairs, so some of these screws don't actually hold this on, they hold the accessories in, like the stairs. So now I know. This and this connect to those two light poles. I'm sure this pops out. Get these out of my way. So I just took every screw out. Now we know the two outer ones, you don't have to, it's the stairs. Looks like some of the inner ones are the track. So that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. All but this one. These two actually don't have screw holes in them. Characters are pushed through. I should probably turn this light back on. There we go. So I'm going to set this out of the way. Alright. Belt feels good. It's a little loose. But you can see it's turning. Wires look all right. So you can see the track and the magnets for the carts. Here's the two wires for the negative and positive that go up to that sign. But I'm thinking my problem is probably right in here. So we're going to start at the power source and then work our way back. And set those two screws out of the way. Oh yeah, this thing is busted just like the last one I did. Look at that, it's all chunked and missing. So let's see if I hold it like I was trying to do with the last one. And if I hold it, maybe we can get enough connection to verify that this functions. This is also a sidewayed one, like my last time. Still nothing. Okay. Where did I put my meter? Right there. Need to tip it up so I can see. There we go. First I'm going to do is make sure that my solder pads are actually giving me good connection, because there is corrosion on this little circuit board. 1 volt. That's not good. Did my transformer die? Oh, 9 volts. All right, maybe I have there's a short in here, which if that's the case, it might be this motor, because that supply is putting out 9 volts, free float, 1 volt loaded. That's a huge drop. So I'm going to use a power supply that if there is a short, it's going to tell me. It's going to make an audible tone. But to do that, I need to find my adapter. Move those out of the way. That I was using to test a different piece the other day. Here it is. And let's see which one's the center. So set for 6 volts. Let's make sure I have it center hot. So put that in the center. This here, and I don't. So reverse those. It's always good to verify if you're doing something like this. There we go. 6.11 volts. See what happens when I plug it in. Yes, it detects a short. Wow. When it does that, just before it goes, the unit vibrates, which I'm wondering is this motor. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just take the wire off the back of the motor. The easiest way to do that is just to desolder one side, since these are soldered on. Not like Lee-Max where it's got a disconnect. It's soldered onto the board, soldered onto the motor. So a little flux. Let's turn this. Just going to remove the black wire once it's up to temp. There we go. Alright, the flux isn't doing it, so we need to add a little fresh solder to transfer the heat. Once the heat's transferred, then the wire comes off. Alright, so the wire is disconnected, like that. Let's try it again. Got a shorted motor. Okay. Just making sure that the selector switch works. It does change songs. So, got a bad motor. It's a 6-volt motor, I assume. There's an easy way to check it. You can do a voltage check. Let's do that next. We also just need to remove the motor so I can try and find a part number. I am sure Mr. Christmas or Happy Holiday Parts out of Florida has this motor, but I'm going to see if I have something comparable here in a moment. The first thing I need to do is actually unscrew it. Luckily, there's enough room that I don't have to take apart the whole gearbox. I can actually just take the motor. Now, the pulley does not fit through the hole, so I'm going to pry the pulley off using the needle nose. The taper helps. And there's my motor. So now I'm going to voltage test the motor. So I'm going to turn that back on, as you can see. Put this back to DC. Yep. So the motor gets a direct 6 volts. It's not stepped down or changed. I'm checking the motor for markings to try and give you an idea what it is. There's not a single mark on this motor that I can see. So it's a 6-volt motor, and that's all I can tell you at the moment. Oh, it's got the letter G. And it has a positive and negative sign, and this black wire is attached to the positive, and the red wire is attached to the negative. Probably so it spins in the right direction. So the horses are going counterclockwise. I'm going to remove the other wire, and I'm going to see if I have a 6-volt motor that'll fit in here. Because if not, I have to wait to get one shipped from Florida. And Christmas is 14 days from today. That's when I'm filming this. And I want to try and get this back before then, since it's a display. There we go. More heat transfer, and there we go. Wires are disconnected. Alright. So on a lot of motors, oh, and with this one being broken like the other one was, where it's a sideways mount connector, I'm going to have to make a temporary plug for it, or if he doesn't want it back before then, because he wants me to get the OEM motor, I'll order that and fix it up, and he can use it for his display next year. It's got 2 metal pins that come through that ride in the tracks that got grease on them. And then the 2 long rectangles are the magnets. So we got 2 connectors right here, which plug in right here, like I was saying, which are your lights. They're tacked down with some hot glue. Speakers tacked down with hot glue. Circuit board is tacked down with hot glue. And this guy and the volume switch are screwed in, but you know what? I want to see what that sign does. So I'm gonna use the new one I made and plug it in. There we go. So that's what the sign looks like. Alright, so on a motor like this, if it doesn't have any markings, hold on, better. So on a motor like this, if it doesn't have any markings, you need to measure the diameter of the barrel, the motor, the thickness of the motor, the length of the armature, the diameter of the armature, and in some cases, they want to know if it has a little protrusion right here at the nose. And some websites will show you the measurement from the back protrusion to the tip, like that. Some will show you from the back protrusion to the casing. You need to get as close to your measurements as possible. If it's up against something like right here where the motor is really close to the gearbox, if the motor is slightly larger, it will not line up with these 2 holes. meaning that when they line up, it'll push on the gearbox, and then of course the motor won't be centered. And if it's too small, the two holes, which is that one and that one, will be too far in. And it might be a weaker motor. So, but you need a set of calipers. I use the digital calipers, which at the moment I have no idea where I put them. I usually keep them right here, but here's the motor. And I'm sure Mr. Christmas Happy Holiday Parts has this in stock. So I'm going to do some checking where I can see if I have one that's the same diameter. You can see that one is not the same diameter, which means that the two screw holes are closer in, so they will not line up with that. This is a Johnson motor, and this one is rated for up to 9 volts. So I'm going to go through my stuff. If I ain't got nothing that's going to work, then this one will sit until I get the correct motor. So, shall return shortly on your time, which might be weeks in my time if I have to order that. So, one moment please. Alright, I am back. It has been about 5 minutes and I went through my motor collection, and believe it or not, I have one and it has a sticker on it. Here's the original. So that way you're not thinking I'm lying here. Also, you can see the colors are different. Dark, white. Anyhow, it is, I've already tested it. It's a good motor. This one, like I said, just has like the, what is it, letter G and then a positive symbol here. This one says it's a Mabuchi motor. It was patented. And then the motor says it is an RF 500 TB. It's 14,415 RPM. And then it's got another set of numbers of MN 911823 made in Malaysia. If you're going to look it up, it would be the RF 500 TB. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this capacitor to this motor, reconnect these wires. I don't think this one has the plus symbol, so it might spin backwards at first. I'm going to just use some magnifying specs to look closer. It's got a piece of solder across, so I'm going to cut off the solder so I can see if there's a symbol. No. But it does have the indentation, where this one has the indentation with the plus in it. This one just has the indentation, so I'm going to start there. I'm going to see if the indentation is the same as this plus. So, yep, it was my last drawer of motors. I mean, that was like a Hail Mary almost, right there. And just so you know that it functions, one connector, and spins perfectly, and it draws 1/100 of an amp with no load. Well, this thing makes the machine beep because the amperage is, well, it's a short. So, alright. Now, this capacitor on the back is generally just a smoothing capacitor to help absorb the noise from the motor. Motors are very noisy in an electronic circuit. If you don't have it, your speaker will probably pick up the noise. So I would recommend either swapping them or replacing it if you don't have one on your new motor, because most motors don't come with them. And if you have to replace it, this one is 104 nanofarad. That's what it says. There's nothing else written on it. So it's actually kind of low. Most of the ones I've done on other projects have always been 1,000. Because motors are really noisy. trying to do this quickly because I don't want to melt the capacitor. But this wire's getting hot. I'm going to cheat. So I can't get it to desolder because they stuck it through the little eye hole, and I can't get the solder without potentially melting this capacitor. I'm just going to snip them as close as I can to the solder. So get this bad motor out of my face. There should still be enough to straddle from one side to the other. Get that back. Yes, plenty. Alright, so I'm going to use some helping hands. Just to make life a little easier. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tin these connections. They already had solder on them from them being in some other project, but that solder is old, so I'm going to add some fresh. So, and then we're going to quickly solder capacitor on. Like that. Easy peasy. Alright, now let's get this put into this circuit. So the side with the circle is right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a red, actually because it's the black wire, I'm going to put a black dot. Normally the plus would be red, but because that's the black wire, so I put a little black mark. I'm going to put the motor's information pointing up, so in the future, because it's the only one I have, and anything that's mechanical, electrical, pneumatic, hydraulic will fail. It's just life. So that way it's easier to locate. There we go. So one. I'm assuming this motor probably came out of a different Mr. Christmas item. I don't know. The reason I don't know is I take motors from different things, and of course the same motor can be used in multiple things. It doesn't have to be Mr. Christmas. This could have come out of a tape deck. I have no idea. I just know it's a 6-volt motor. It's the exact same make and model, just to be safe that it still works. Perfect. So now just putting the pulley on. I pushed the hair too far, so I'm going to use the taper again of the pliers to pull it back. Actually, use these. They have a little bit better taper. Like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook these up, and I want to make sure this mechanism actually spins. because now it has a load. Just like that. Now, let's solder these wires on. Make sure it spins from the plug. If you remember, I used solder to take these off, so these two wires have fresh solder on them. So they're pre-tinned. There we go. Now, let's see if the magic happens. Look at that. It's the correct direction. Beautiful. It is vibrating a lot. I wonder if I have a broken gear. I am just turning the gearbox in here slowly. Well, fast on the pulley, it turns the gear slowly. So I can see if any of the gears appear to be cracked. I don't see any cracks. But it could be the belt. The belt's vibrating, and that might be my vibration. It might need a new belt. Probably should replace it anyway, just to be safe, because the belt, as you can see, is egg-shaped from sitting. Well, it's almost time for me to get some new belts. I'm running low. Let's try this belt. Appears to be about the right size. Now, if you have a unit and you put a belt on it, just quits turning, it usually means your belt's too tight. So it's always good to test your belts. Hey, the vibration's gone, so belt. Mr. Christmas probably has these belts, since it is a Mr. Christmas piece, but this is a generic belt kit from Skull Crane, which I've mentioned in most all the videos. I use belts because I really like their belts. So I'll put a link to both in the description down below once this is posted. Now this, even though it's broken, it's really tight. It's not dropping out because there's still tension on the spring. So since this isn't a static display, meaning it's not moved, I'm not going to put a temporary one in there. I'm just going to let him know that it's broken, and I'm going to order a batch of them, and then I'm going to take this and the one I did previous apart and replace them correctly. All you do is desolder these 3 pads, and then you just resolder them. Use a solder sucker or a solder wick to remove the solder. You might have to put fresh solder on top of it when you do it, and then or flux, or both. You never know. And other set of stairs. Apparently you can't screw them up because the standoffs are offset. If you try and screw them up, they won't line up onto the pad. I like when they make things, as the old saying used to be, blonde friendly. Basically, it means you can't screw it up. Just making sure everything's in alignment before I put this back in. That goes there, that goes there. Since I moved this, I wanted to make sure there's no wires getting caught in any holes. It's always good to double check your stuff before you do it, because I've done it, and I'm sure other people have too. Run a screw through a connection that, oh yeah, like this is going on backwards. Run a screw through a connection because you didn't verify that your wires were clear of all the mounting holes. There we go. That fits a lot better when you put it on the right way. Now comes the fun part, are these really short lamp wires. Well, of course, we don't know if the lamps work, so we're going to try and plug these things in and then turn it on again. I just don't know how I'm going to plug these things in, because man, these things are short. Let's try these. Actually, if I hold the top one with the tweezers, like so, I can probably push the bottom ones on with my... Nope. I ain't gonna lie, if you have this piece, it's gonna be difficult. So I'm gonna use long, thin needle nose on the bottom and tweezers on the top. I'm gonna try and get this side plugged in first. Okay, that side's plugged in. Now, let's do it again on the other side. And you could technically remove the glue and make it easier, but then you risk having the wires get caught in all those moving parts, especially on that side. And if that happens, you might have some other problems. So this one's attached closer to one of the screw points, so it's a little harder to get to. Break a wire. Trying to pull some of the wire through the glue, make it just a hair longer. It did. I got probably a 1/4 inch more slack. Maybe it'll make it easier to plug in. It's still in the glue, so the wires won't fall into the moving parts. Just pulled it through, but I lost my alignment on the track, and I just unplugged the other lights. So there we go. All right, so apparently this side's technically harder, so we're going to start with this side. Oh yeah. I think I said in my last video, I'd love to see how they put these things together, because I don't see any way that people with normal hands can do this. Oh, come on, you guys are so close. I wish they would have made these longer. There had to be a better way. This is a really poor design. Okay, I got it. Now, I gotta try and get the other side back in and not lift the green track. Because technically I could screw the track down. I'm gonna do that. Give me a second here. I'm gonna put a couple of screws in this track. All 10,000 of these screws are the same. And to make life faster, I'm going to use a drill. The inner screws are the tracks. The outer screws are the base that holds itself together, or the stairs too. There we go. Now I don't have to worry about the track lifting. Now I can try and get this back together. Like that. That side's still good. So, I cheated a little bit. I did pull the blue wire out of the glue all the way. Not out of the glue, but through the glue. Let's rephrase that. So that way it gave me a little bit more slack. And the reason being is this one's right next to the screw hole. This one isn't, because the screw holes aren't equidistant on both sides. They're offset. Power's plugged in. Power's plugged in. I have a non-functioning light. See if it came unplugged. It didn't come unplugged, the wire broke. I'm going to see if I can fix it without taking it apart. Let's see, where's the power switch? Right there. So, soldering iron's back on. I'm going to use either the long needle nose or those, or both. And I'm going to lift this to the height of where it starts to or put tension. So I'm going to use a screwdriver to hold it. And I need to tip it up so I can actually see under the plastic. So to do that, my wedge is going to be my voltmeter, like so. Pop the screwdriver back in, make sure that side's still plugged in. And now I can see that when I pulled the blue wire, I apparently pulled it off the connector. So, yay. And of course, if I can't do this steadily, I will have to take it back apart. forgot I haven't screwed the stairs in yet. Let's get those out of my way. The white wire, if you saw it, has a curl. That curl keeps lifting right into the path of my soldering iron. So I'm going to put it underneath the tweezers so I can keep it out of the way. And now I need to pull the connector towards me. Sure, a third hand would be awesome right now. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to take it apart. The wire, when I touch it, as soon as I release pressure, they do this. That's because I don't have 3 hands. And I don't think these will be able to hold it in place. I think the one, they're too light, and 2, they're basically going to slide. But 2, I don't think I can get the right angle. Let me try it. Grab that. Over this a little. Maybe. Let's give it a whirl. Worst thing that's going to happen is it won't stick and I'll have to open it up. Best thing that's going to happen is it works and I don't have to open it up. Turning the temperature down a little bit. Retend that. Nope. now that's soldered, now I gotta plug it back in. Yes, I know the stairs are not in. I'm going to see if I can plug it in from this side. If it's going to be easier or not. So, put that there. Jeez. This is a horrible, horrible design, Mr. Christmas. If you would have just run a wire around the base on the outside of the screws, you could have done this with a connector on one side only. And there would have been enough slack to allow... Alright, it's plugged in, broke the wire again. So, it does not look like this is going to go back together with any ease. Ah, and that wire just broke too. Alright. Mr. Christmas. Yeah, see how long this white wire is and how short that blue wire is? That's the problem. The problem is they just don't seem to understand how things work and things break. But then again, they'll tell you not to repair them. So I'm going to extend the wire, and I'm going to keep it on the outside of this standoff, which means it shouldn't curl in and touch the moving parts. I'll slide some heat shrink on here, or try to. Need to remove the solder first. There we go. You know, they always say any job is just one broken screw away from a 3-day ordeal. Well, in this case, a broken wire is now a 3-hour ordeal. So if you have this piece and you have the capability to extend these wires, if you don't have heat shrink, electrical tape, hot glue, anything that's an insulator is fine. The white wires on both sides are longer than the other wire, which is strange. Burning flesh. All right. Of course, if you're still watching this and you haven't skipped ahead, thank you. And if you did skip ahead, yeah. Oh, awesome. They both just broke off. These solder joints are horrible. Alright. These wires are so small. There we go. Alright, that's fixed. Now, that wire looks like it's already been extended. I wonder if that was done in the factory. There's a solder joint about 3 inches back. And they used a daub of hot glue to insulate it. But I'm going to have to extend this wire too, since it just broke again. Yeah. So, right there is an extension. So I wonder, it's covered in the original hot glue, if someone, when they made this, realized they couldn't put it together without breaking it, so they're like, hey, I'm going to extend it just a little bit to make my life easy, because they realize the same thing, that this is a horrible design to have connectors that are so tight that you can't assemble or disassemble this piece. That's going to leave a mark. There we go. And you're probably thinking, oh, I forgot the heat shrink. Oh my gosh. No. Slide it down the wire. Once I find a piece. That. Go. So within these long, boring segments of repairing stuff, hopefully these videos are helping a lot of you out there. That's the whole point. Even if it's not the exact piece you have, hopefully it's enough to get you going on whatever piece you may have. I lost my solder. That's awesome. New spool. As I was saying earlier, Christmas is 2 weeks from now. Doesn't feel like Christmas time. For some reason this year, just the holidays don't feel like the holidays to me, and a whole bunch of other people that I've talked to said the same. I don't know why. I don't know what has changed to make a lot of people feel that it's not as festive. Even Halloween, my favorite holiday, it just didn't feel like Halloween. So I'm just gonna check. That solder joint looks decent. There. Alright, so I'm going to plug this guy in first. Now that I have some slack on the other side, I'm going to see if I can plug these in with my fingers and then tip the... I can't get my it's two fat fingers in at the same time. No, not that way. So yeah, no, I still can't get these to plug in with my fingers. So yeah, just doesn't feel as festive as it used to be. Some say it's because you're getting older. Some say it's the state of the planet. I don't know. I do know that winter, fall, whatever you want to call it, because out here it's not quite the same as it is in other states. It's December 11th right now, and it's in the 50s outside. The high today was 60 something because there's a storm coming in tomorrow. I put those other stairs there. So, I know in other places they're getting tons of snow, and I guess, I don't know, it just doesn't feel festive. Normally I'll go out and look at Christmas lights, you know, because I do like looking at Christmas lights. I'm not a Christmas person, but haven't even done that yet. Alright, let's see if it works. Yay! Light, 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 and I hear it moving. Woohoo! Look at that! Let's get some screws on this bad boy real fast and reduce the lighting in here. Get an idea what this thing looks like with its lights. It's not going to be as bright as some of the other ones because the lights are not direct lights. They don't point onto the track. All they do is illuminate the signs and illuminate the two poles. Also, I don't think they do any chariot races in the evening hours. There we go. That'll keep it nice and square for testing, and then I can put the rest of them in so this video isn't 17 hours long, because I think we're pushing, holy crap, like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. Alright, here comes the last light, which of course will normally not be this dark. The orange lights do illuminate decently. I don't know how the camera shows it. It looks darker on the camera. But the front side is really, really, really dim because we're only getting the illumination from the sign. I don't know if you can tell, but the wheels are spinning. It's kind of cool. I have two more characters because there's 4 to go around the track. You saw the 4 sets of pads. So I wasn't going to pull them all out. It's not worth it. But there we go. There's your Christmas music. So, it does have a bent light pole head, which he did tell me. So I'll probably put a dab of super glue right there so it doesn't break all the way off. But if you have this piece, on this video you saw how to make a new cord head, or you can just buy one. I have them lying around, so I don't have a problem making them and just giving them back with new plugs. But if you're going to open it and you don't want to disassemble the 9 million screws, the 2 that are in the corners, disregard. The ones that are on the inner edge, you'll see they're staggered. You can leave those in for the track. And if you just take the outer, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like the outer 7. You can take this base off. Be careful. You know, we now have short wires for these. You might have to extend them just to make life easier, because apparently they'll break on you, and then you spend 30 minutes trying to put it back together, especially if they're connected to that sign and it shifts. You saw the whole thing if you watched the video. If not, rewind. Motor, you saw that I told you what it was on the new one. This one's bad. You can either buy a generic, same size, or you can go to Happy Holiday Parts and see if they have the OEM one in stock. 6-volt motor. That's why it's shorted out. And I'm going to say, most likely that motor failed while this was plugged in. And that's why it says bad. And what happened is this overheated and burned out. And you can see this one is much smaller than the one I made. I'll unplug it. Twink. You can see it's a much herkier one. And this one probably went to some stupid electronic toy that broke. But anyway, as you can see, it works. This probably burned out from being plugged in with a shorted motor. Shorted motors will cause these to overheat, whether it's this one or the one from Lemax. It doesn't matter. The transformer that's in here, the step-down transformer, will burn. Sometimes you can smell it, and sometimes it just fail. So that one, as you saw, the new one, went from almost 9 volts free float to 1 volt loaded. That's how much strain this was putting on here. Then when I use my meter or machine and put 6 volts into it, it went from 0 amps, and then I turned it on and it skyrocketed to above 2.5. At 2.5, it sends that little beeper off. That means if it was an infinite amp, this would have kept going until either this burned or my machine caught fire. So thank God it has a safety. They all pretty much do anymore. So check your motor. As you saw, just disconnect one of the wires to test it, and voila. So what this one needed: new power supply, new motor, new belt, good to go. Technically, a couple of wire extensions to make it easier to remove and work on in the future. It does also technically need a new 5mm barrel jack, sideways mount, but this one's nice and tight compared to the last one I did of Mr. Christmas where it was really loose. So I'll leave it for now. I will let him know that once I get that kit of them, I will take this back, open it up, quickly swap out the piece, and then put it back together. Quickly being relative, because I'm sure I'm going to have problems with all stupid wires again. So, but this has been the Mr. Christmas Gold Label Collection World's Fair Carriage Race. How to open it, diagnose it, fix it, and try not to pull your hair out if you have this piece in you. we're having issues with these lamp poles. So, thanks for watching. Any questions, comments, suggestions, whatever, put them down below. You want to tell me if you feel that this holiday season wasn't as spectacular as it could have been? That's great. Like I said, people I work with have the same feeling. Other people I know, they're just friends, say the same thing. It just doesn't feel like this last 3 months of the year were as joyous as normal. But still try to make the best of it. If this is up before Christmas, hope you have a good one. Good year. Hopefully next year is a great year. It'd be really nice if that would happen. As long as I can, I'll still be putting out videos. That's nothing dubious, like we're in trouble or anything. It's just life happens. Might be one of the reasons why is in the last, since the beginning of the year, I've had about 4 or 5 friends I know die. So maybe that's why this year is not as joyous. A lot of people I know aren't with us anymore. So, but it happens suddenly. So that's why I was saying, you know, hopefully next year is good, and I'll be doing it as long as I can. Because, like the one person, car accident, there's no control over that. So, but anyhow, not to end on a downer note, but thanks for watching. Till the next one, we'll be back fixing more of these things so we can keep your collection functional. Thank you.